What's up, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram? What's up? What's up? What's up? Listen, listen, listen. I don't know who this is for, but we have a faith talk for you tonight. And our faith talk tonight is about closed doors. Closed doors. Somebody type in the comments, closed doors. We are talking about closed doors tonight. Sometimes we are so frustrated by the closed doors in our lives. And the crazy thing about that is we get frustrated by the closed doors in our life when we serve a God who brings down the walls, okay? And so I want to talk to you all tonight and encourage you tonight about the closed doors. Sometimes the closed doors are, redirection. God wanting to, He desires to redirect us. That wasn't our door. All of those things that we hear. But I have come to let somebody know and to encourage somebody that the closed doors, the things that are locked up, the things that are held up, the things that are frustrating you right now, because you know that your resources are behind those closed doors. You know that was a door that God told you to knock on. You know that that was the place that God told you to be, and you're frustrated because that door is closed, that door is locked up. It's because God wants you to use a different strategy, baby. God is saying, I don't care that that door is locked up. I don't care that that door is closed. I don't even care if the gate is locked and nobody's going out or coming in. I'm getting ready to bring down the walls. I'm getting ready to do something extraordinary. Those of you that don't remember this story in the Bible, in Joshua chapter 6, God was preparing Joshua for a supernatural event. He was preparing him for a supernatural event. And as the leader of his people, Joshua had to obtain the keys that was going to lead them to victory. Y'all not typing in the comments. Joshua had to be okay with the way that God was getting ready to lead them into victory. And so with that, God downloaded instructions for Joshua to follow. And Joshua had to follow those instructions so that he can get a supernatural breakthrough. And so tonight I want to share with you all 3 keys that will lead you to your supernatural victory, to victory that you haven't experienced before, to something that's completely different than what you had in mind. And so the first thing is, you first of all got to stand on what God said. Sometimes we encounter some challenges, or we encounter an event that is, different, something that is tough, something that is challenging for us. And then we reconsider, we try to reason with God, like, God, did I really, I know I told you yes 2 weeks ago, but this is really hard. This is getting difficult. This is getting ridiculous even, right? And then we try to reason with God about our yes. We try to renegotiate our yes with God. And God is saying, you know what? I need you to, first of all, believe, okay? God told Joshua, I've given you this land. I've given you this territory. I've given you these people that's within these walls. They already belong to you. I've already given it to you. But in order for you to embrace it, to receive it, to collect it, I've got some instructions for you to follow. And so sometimes we've got to just go ahead and stand on that. God has given us some things that 5 years ago for some of you, 10 years ago for some of you, a year ago for some of you, and some of you, God gave you something 6 months ago, and you're getting super close to it. You're extremely close to it. Yet you have encountered some storms. You've encountered some setback. You've encountered some things that you thought you was just getting ready to open up that door and walk in. God was like, no, that ain't the way. That's not the way I designed for you to embrace it. That's not the way that I want you to embark upon that victory. Right. And so because we come up against the opposition, we think that that's not our door. That's, maybe God said something else. Maybe God said something different than what I thought he said. No, God said exactly what he said. He just said, I need you to follow these instructions in order to get it. Right. And so in that time, Joshua went ahead and went with the instructions. So secondly, you got to submit to the instructions. You got to say, you know what, this doesn't make any sense. Them walking around a city that was walled up, gated up, locked down, it didn't make any sense for them to walk around that city. And not only just walk around that city, but they had to walk around that city and not say a word. That's hard for some of y'all. That's hard for y'all to, to really embrace that. God has said, I'm gonna give you this city, but you can't say nothing about it. You can't say nothing about it. Don't talk to your neighbor. Don't call up your girlfriend and go over her ideas about how God gonna give it to you. Don't go over, with your girlfriend about how she thinks God gonna do it. God just said, I'm going to give it to you. Some of y'all, God has promised you relationships. God has promised you resources because you got an assignment to fulfill, and you are running it by people that don't have vision. You are asking people to proofread something that they don't even have vision for God, for their own lives, right? And so you're asking them and you're getting their advice and you're getting their opinions about it. And God didn't say to do all of that. And so God says, don't talk to your neighbor. Don't say nothing to your neighbor. Don't punch your neighbor and say this. And don't do all of that. Just know that I gave it to you. Just know that I'm giving this to you. And so their leader, Joshua, had to submit to the instructions. He had to understand that this wasn't just an ordinary victory. Listen, Joshua was a man of valor. He was a man that understood victory. But this particular assignment was just not an ordinary assignment. It was a particular assignment that was going to change the course of how they moved, their destiny. They were getting ready to go and embark on some things that a lot of people didn't think they was going to be able to obtain. And so the instructions were very specific. God wasn't just random. See, sometimes we think that God just thinks the way we think. Like he's just random. He's all over the place. No, he is not. He's just waiting for us to to get on board, right? And so those specific instructions was what led them to the victory. And then lastly, we've got to embrace and expand our mental capacity to have supernatural expectations. There's some expectations that we have that are super small. Like God is like really like, and we limit those expectations. We get our expectations get smaller and smaller because we don't see it. So we think, okay, well, God, I was believing you for this $10,000 grant for my business, but since that didn't come through, if you could just give me a $5,000 grant. No, God is saying, listen, you need to be believing me because the vision that I have for you, the destiny that I have prepared for you, 10,000 ain't enough. 10,000 ain't enough, and 5,000 definitely ain't enough. So you've got to expand your spiritual capacity, your emotional and mental capacity to expect supernatural. We don't serve just an ordinary God. We serve an extraordinary God, and He has created us in His image as extraordinary people. And so with that, we've got to have supernatural expectations. This place was locked up. Jericho was locked up. These people thought they were just going to walk in the door. No. So it had to be a supernatural event that had to take place in order for them to possess the land. And so when they walked around the wall, and the last day they walked around that wall, not saying nothing, for 7 times around that wall, y'all. 7 times, right? And then they was able to shout and they was able to give God praise because God was giving them the city. Did they know that the walls were going to collapse? No, God didn't give them that part. God didn't say how I'm going to give it to you. He just said this is the instructions. And so when the walls came down, I can imagine how just shocked they were, right? But at the end of the day, we serve a God that shocks us all the time. God comes through for us in ways that we can't even imagine. Some people, their testimony has been where, you know what, they said that I had this, they saw this on the CAT scan, and then when I went back, they didn't see it no more. Listen, God can do whatever He wants, however He wants. We just got to be ready to receive it. We've got to open up our supernatural senses and discernment to say, God, however you're going to do it, however you're going to do it, I'm just going to continue to stay in the path that you have planned for me. I'm going to walk in the steps that you have ordered for me. Yeah, I don't understand this step. I don't understand this path. This path don't even look familiar to me, but I'm going to walk in this path. I'm going to be obedient in this path. I'm going to submit to this plan. I'm going to submit to your plan. Because my plan, it makes sense to me, and your plan don't really make that much sense to me, but because I trust you and because I'm committed to my yes, I'm just going to go ahead and do it the way you told me to do it. Because the way that you told me to do it, the things that I don't need to fulfill my destiny is gonna fall off, right? It's gonna fall off because you have designed it to be that. You've designed it to be so. So the people that wasn't supposed to go into the promised land, guess what? They murmured and complained. They had a bunch of issues with it, and guess what? They didn't embrace that. They didn't get to go into that. But imagine if those people didn't fall off. When Joshua told them they can't say nothing, they would have been the ones talking because they were talking before. And so they wouldn't have been able to be obedient to that particular instruction. And so that particular instruction was so important. It was crucial for the supernatural experience that they were able to witness that day. And so y'all have to just trust God. We've got to trust God. We've got to trust that God knows exactly what we need and exactly what is going to be required and necessary in order for us to fulfill our assignment in the earth. Listen, all of us have a particular assignment that we must fulfill in the earth. And in order for us to fulfill that assignment, we got to know that we need the resources to fulfill it. We need we need the connections to fulfill it. And so God places us and orders our steps so perfectly so that we go into those connections. We rub shoulders with those connections. We are able to receive and have understanding and discernment and knowledge about how to handle those resources, y'all. And so when that happens, we've got to just give God praise for it because it's an amazing event. It's an incredible blessing to be able to be used in that way. And so y'all, I hope and I pray that that encouraged you tonight, that stop crying about the closed doors. Stop crying about the locked up doors when we serve a God that can bring down the walls and give you the entire city. Listen, you're looking at walking in rooms and crying about rooms when God is saying, I'm trying to give you the entire city. I'm trying to give you the entire building, but you crying about this door and you can't even see what I'm really trying to do in your life. So listen, I pray that that blessed you. I pray that God is doing something amazing in your life and you're extremely close. Don't give up now. Don't give up now. God may be switching up some things and you don't understand it right now, but it will make sense by and by, okay? Because if it makes sense to you now, listen, you probably mess it up if you're like me. And so some things just can't make sense right now, but as we walk into it, we start to see the light. We start to be enlightened as to what God is doing. And sometimes we just can't absorb it all. We can't absorb it all. We just get the little pieces at a time and we just embrace that and we feast on that. All right. And so in the meantime, y'all, continue to be blessed. Continue to walk by faith. Continue to walk by faith. Continue to put God first in your life. Listen, I love you with the love of the Lord. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I will be back next week, Lord willing, to do your faith talk again. In the meantime, make sure that those of you that are following me on YouTube and Facebook, scrolling below, you can see the digital products. I have digital products in Priceless Academy that you can see. And those of you on YouTube, or I'm sorry, Instagram, the link is in my bio. So you can always access all of those good things over there too. Those resources are super, super helpful for your life. Listen, I love you all. I know I said that before, family, but I do love you all because I'm here chatting with y'all at 9:43, and I need to, get on out of here. But again, I pray again that this was a blessing. This was a blessing to me, and y'all. I don't try to gatekeep. I need to share this with you all, and so I know that things during the week sometimes can get heavy, but continue to hold on to God's unchanging hand. Continue to walk by what God said because He's going to come through for you. In Jesus' name. I love you all. We'll see you next week. Take care.